Most people buying a campervan in 2026 will lose between $15,000 and $47,000 on the wrong decision. Not because they didn't do research, because they researched the wrong things. Here's the pattern. You spend months watching van tours, you fall in love with a layout, you fixate on a color, a brand, a lifestyle, and then you hand over $40,000 or $80,000 based on feelings you built watching someone else live in their van. 6 months later, you're sitting in a repair shop, or you're realizing the van doesn't fit in a single parking structure in your city, or you discover the conversion company that built it went out of business and your warranty is worthless paper. This video is not a van tour. These are 20 things learned the hard way by real buyers that would have saved them thousands of dollars and months of regret. Smart Buyer Framework. Before the list, one rule that separates smart buyers from everyone else. Buy the platform first, the lifestyle second. Most buyers do it backwards. They imagine the life, then they find a van that looks like that life, then they sign. Smart buyers start with the chassis, the engine reliability, the parts supply chain, and the long-term cost of ownership. They make a spreadsheet decision first, an emotional decision second. And here's the line I want you to write down before we go any further. A campervan isn't a vehicle purchase. It's a small business acquisition with wheels. The moment you treat it that way, everything about how you evaluate, negotiate, and buy changes. Now, the list. Number 1. The sticker price is not the real price. Whatever number is on the listing, add 20%. That's the real price. Because the real price includes the pre-purchase inspection, deferred maintenance the seller didn't disclose, insurance for a vehicle in a new category, registration fees in some states, and the first round of upgrades you'll make within 90 days of buying. One buyer in our study purchased a Ram ProMaster conversion for $41,000. Within 4 months, he'd spent an additional $9,200 on a new alternator, corrected wiring, a proper diesel heater install, and storage upgrades the original builder had cut corners on. Final real cost, $50,200. Budget accordingly before you fall in love with anything. Number 2. The conversion means nothing if the base vehicle is bad. This is the single most expensive mistake in the campervan market. A buyer in Florida wired $72,000 for a professionally converted Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. Beautiful interior, custom cabinetry, 400-watt solar system. She drove it home, parked it in her driveway, and started planning her route. 3 months later, a mobile mechanic she hired for a routine check found rust hidden beneath the subframe, the section covered by the conversion floor. Structural, not cosmetic. Repair estimate, $11,400, and that was the optimistic number. The interior was furniture, the base vehicle was the investment. She bought furniture on a compromised foundation. Inspect the vehicle first, always, before you look at a single cabinet or countertop. Number 3. Always pay for a pre-purchase inspection. A professional inspection from a certified mechanic costs $200 to $400. It has saved buyers $20,000 in undisclosed problems multiple times. It is not optional. It is not something you skip because the seller seems trustworthy. It is not something you skip because the van is 3 states away and logistics are complicated. If a seller refuses to allow an inspection, that is your answer. Leave immediately. The seller who won't allow an inspection is always the seller with something to hide. Number 4. Mileage is not the only number that matters. Buyers obsess over mileage. Sellers know this and price accordingly. What actually matters is service history, oil change intervals, and whether the vehicle has been driven mostly highway miles or city miles. A Ford Transit with 140,000 documented highway miles in a full service history is a far better buy than a 70,000-mile Sprinter with no records and 3 different owners in 4 years. Ask for every receipt, every oil change, every repair. If there are no records, price it like there's no history, because there isn't. Number 5. Diesel and petrol are not the same decision. Diesel delivers better fuel economy on long highway hauls. It also costs more to service, requires specialist mechanics, and, in 2026, faces increasing restrictions across European city centers. A buyer who purchased a 2017 Volkswagen Crafter diesel in the UK discovered that his van was restricted from entering central London, central Paris, and 2 German cities where he planned to spend significant time. The low-emission zone fines were running 80 to 100 euros per day. He hadn't checked the Euro emissions rating before purchase. That single oversight cost him 2,400 euros in fines in 14 months and ultimately forced a sale at a $6,000 loss. Petrol engines are simpler, cheaper to repair, and accessible to any mechanic anywhere. Neither is universally better, but diesel buyers in Europe must check their specific van's compliance rating before they sign anything. Number 6. The height of your van will control your life. High roof vans are the most livable option for full-time van life. They're also excluded from a significant number of parking structures, ferry decks, and drive-thrus. Standard height on most platforms runs 6'1" to 6'3". High roof variants, the Sprinter, the Transit, the Crafter, reach 6'4" to 7'3". Before committing to a high roof build, spend 1 week driving a rental of the same height in the cities you plan to live. The standing room gain may not be worth the access loss. Most buyers only discover this after the conversion is bolted in. Number 7. Resale value is part of the purchase decision. Most buyers think about what they're paying today. Smart buyers think about what they'll recover in 3 years. Platforms with large owner communities and brand recognition hold value. Obscure chassis, gray market imports, and custom builds without documentation lose value fast. The Mercedes-Benz Sprinter and the Ford Transit consistently hold the strongest resale in the North American used market. The Volkswagen Crafter holds well across Europe. Platforms without that ecosystem support, especially niche imports, can lose 35 to 45% of purchase price in the first 2 years. If you're spending $80,000 on a conversion, ask the builder what comparable units sold for in the used market in the last 12 months. If they can't answer that question, they haven't thought about your investment, only their sale.
Number 8. The conversion builder's reputation is a financial asset. If the company that built your conversion goes out of business, your warranty disappears with them. And conversion companies do go out of business. Before buying any professionally built van, verify the builder is still actively operating. Read reviews across multiple independent platforms, not just their own website. Ask for references from buyers who purchased more than 2 years ago. Find out their current build timeline. Builders with a 6 to 12-month waiting list are almost always a better sign than a builder with immediate availability. A reputable builder adds $10,000 to $15,000 in resale value to a build. An unknown one can remove that same amount, on top of a voided warranty. Number 9. Solar and electrical are the most misrepresented specs. Sellers say 400 watts of solar. Buyers hear unlimited power. Here's the math they don't show you. 400 watts in full summer sun, perfectly angled with no shade, produces roughly 1.2 to 1.6 kilowatt hours per day. Running an air conditioner for 2 hours consumes more than that entire output. A buyer who purchased a Ram ProMaster conversion partly based on the full off-grade electrical system found within his first month that the system couldn't simultaneously run his laptop, his CPAP machine, and keep the fridge cold through a cloudy week. The system wasn't dishonest, it just wasn't designed for his actual power needs. Before you buy, ask what the daily power draw is for every appliance installed. Ask how many amp hours the battery bank holds. Ask what happens on 3 consecutive cloudy days. If the seller can't answer in numbers, the system was not designed by someone who understood power management. Number 11. Water capacity is always smaller than you think. 20 gallons sounds substantial. It is approximately 4 days of conservative use for one person. 2 people, cooking daily, staying in places without hookups, you are filling up every 2 days. Before you buy, calculate your actual daily water use at home. Reduce it by 40% for van life reality. Then check if the tank capacity matches that math. Most buyers do not do this calculation until they're 3 hours from the nearest fill station. Number 11. Sleeping direction matters more than sleeping surface. Every buyer focuses on mattress quality. Almost no buyer thinks about sleeping direction until after purchase. A side-to-side bed running wall-to-wall across the van forces you to sleep in a fixed position. You cannot roll over fully. You cannot stretch lengthwise. In a van you will live in every day, that matters. A bed that runs front to back, lengthwise down the vehicle, is what experienced full-timers consistently cite as non-negotiable. The layout looks better in a tour video. The sleeping direction determines whether you wake up rested in year 2. Test it in person. Lie down in the van. Don't let anyone rush you. Number 12. There is no such thing as a free overnight park. Bureau of Land Management land in the United States offers genuine dispersed camping, but it is not universally accessible. It often requires clearance for larger vans, and it demands planning. In Europe, free roadside overnight parking is actively shrinking. Germany, the Netherlands, and significant portions of France have introduced restrictions or outright bans in tourist areas. Budget for site fees. Realistically, $300 to $600 per month for reliable, legal overnight options in well-serviced areas across the U.S. In Western Europe, budget $350 to €700. Buyers who plan their finances around free camping almost always run short. Number 13. Insurance is not the same as car insurance. A converted campervan is not insured the same way as a passenger vehicle. Many standard auto policies do not cover a vehicle modified for habitation. If you file a claim and the insurer discovers you've been living in a van they insured as a cargo vehicle, they can deny the claim entirely. The conversion, the electrical system, the solar panels, none of it covered. This has happened. You need a policy specifically written for a campervan or motorhome. These exist from multiple insurers in the US and Europe. They cost between $800 and $2,400 per year, depending on vehicle value and use. Get the right insurance before you sleep a single night in the vehicle. Number 14. Climate control is the feature buyers most underestimate. A ventilation fan is not air conditioning. A diesel heater keeps you warm. It does not cool you on a 95-degree afternoon in Phoenix or a 38-degree July afternoon in southern Spain. This is the reason most first-time van lifers sell within 18 months. Not the lifestyle, not the space, the temperature. A rooftop air conditioner costs $1,500 to $4,000 installed and requires significant battery capacity to run. A diesel heater, a Webasto, an S-Bar, a Chinese unit, costs $800 to $2,000 installed and is highly effective in cold climates. Before you buy any van, where will you be in July? Where will you be in January? Answer those two questions honestly. Then verify the build has a real solution for both. Number 15. The year of manufacture changes the risk profile completely. 2 years of manufacture can mean the difference between a resolved mechanical issue and an active one that costs $6,000 to fix. The Mercedes-Benz Sprinter is the clearest example. The OM651 diesel engine found in pre-2019 models has documented issues with the EGR valve and turbocharger. These are not rare failures. They are expected costs in that generation. The 2019 onward Sprinter switched to the OM654 engine, significantly better reliability record. That year pivot, 2018 versus 2019, can mean a $4,000 repair bill difference in the first 3 years of ownership. For any van you are seriously considering, search the owner forums for that specific year, not the model, the year. 2 hours of research can save you $8,000.
Parts availability is a survival skill. You will break down somewhere inconvenient. This is not pessimism. It is the experience of every long-term van traveler without exception. The question is not whether something will fail. The question is, when it fails in rural Wyoming or rural Portugal, how long does it take to get a part? The Ford Transit has one of the widest parts networks in North America. Almost any Ford dealer, any independent shop, any AutoZone in the country can source components in 24 to 48 hours. The Ram ProMaster runs on widely available Stellantis parts. The Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, for all its advantages, requires specialist diesel mechanics in many markets. A failed injector on a rural highway in Montana took one buyer 11 days to resolve. 11 days waiting for a specific part to arrive at the only certified dealer within 200 miles. Before you buy, Google the nearest dealer for your platform from 3 locations on your planned route. If the nearest dealer is 4 hours away in 2 of those locations, that's a financial risk you need to price into the purchase. Never buy from a seller who won't allow 30 minutes minimum on a test drive. A 5-minute loop around a parking lot tells you almost nothing. A 30-minute drive, including highway speeds, hard braking, and tight turns, reveals whether the transmission hesitates, whether the brakes pull, whether there's vibration above 65 miles per hour, whether the steering has play it shouldn't. The seller who cuts your test drive short is the seller who knows what a longer one would reveal. Any serious seller with a clean vehicle will give you 30 minutes without hesitation. The total cost of ownership calculation. Here's the number most buyers never calculate, and it's the only number that determines whether van life is actually affordable for them. Take your purchase price, add expected maintenance over 3 years, budget $3,000 to $6,000 per year for a used van in good condition, add insurance, add campsite fees at realistic rates, add fuel at your planned mileage, add the upgrades you will make in the first 90 days because every buyer makes them. Divide the total by 36 months. For most buyers in the $40,000 to $80,000 purchase range, the all-in monthly cost lands between $1,800 and $3,400. That single number changes every decision in this process. Most buyers calculate it for the first time while sitting in a repair shop, wondering how they underestimated this so badly. Calculate it before you buy, not after. The trial period most buyers skip. Before spending $50,000 to $100,000 on a campervan, rent one for 2 weeks. Not a weekend, 2 full weeks, long enough to experience cooking in a constrained space, sleeping in unfamiliar locations night after night, managing water and waste daily, and working remotely if that's part of your plan. The number of buyers who discover van life is not for them after a 2-week rental before committing 6 figures is significant. The number who discover this after purchase is more significant. Renting costs $1,500 to $3,000 for 2 weeks. It is the cheapest research you will ever do in this process. The van that bankrupts buyers isn't the bad van. It's not the van with obvious rust or a leaking roof or a check engine light that's been on for 6 months. Those vans buyers walk away from. The van that bankrupts buyers is the perfect-looking van. The one with the beautiful interior, the one where the seller has an answer for every question, the one where you walk in already half decided and the seller just needs to close the gap. That van passes every emotional test and fails every financial one. And here's why it keeps happening. Sellers, whether private, dealer, or conversion company, know that buyers make their best decisions for the seller in the first 20 minutes of a viewing. You're excited, the space feels like home, someone is asking about your plans and making you feel understood, and somewhere in that conversation, urgency appears. Another buyer's coming tomorrow. The price goes up next week. Smart buyers have one rule: never make a purchase decision on the day they see a vehicle. Sleep on it, run the inspection, do the full math. The seller knows more about that van than you do. Your only job before any money moves is to close that information gap. The van that was going fast 3 days ago is almost always still available. And if it's not, there will be another one. There is always another one. 20 things. None of them are secrets. All of them are available to any buyer willing to slow down and do the work before they spend the money. The campervan market in 2026 rewards buyers who treat it like a business decision. It punishes buyers who treat it like a shopping trip. And the difference between those two buyers is almost never intelligence. It's almost always preparation. If you were shopping right now, save this video. Watch it again before you send a deposit to anyone, because once the money leaves your account, every mistake on this list becomes real, and most of them are very difficult to undo. The next video on this channel goes deeper on one specific topic, the pre-purchase inspection, exactly what a mechanic should be checking, the questions to ask before they open the hood, and the 3 conditions that should make you walk away regardless of price, layout, or how much you love the van. That video exists because of one reason. The most expensive mistakes in this market happen in the first 20 minutes. Don't be that buyer.